What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Movie News, the only podcast you need for all your movie news, movie reviews, and more. This is episode 32. Apparently, I got some feedback last week. I didn't actually introduce the art house, the one, the only, the art house man,
Really?
the angry man, and our favorite co-host, my favorite co-host, and is yours as well. It is none other than Lawson.
Jeez. Hi. Who told you that? I didn't realize.
Yeah. So I got some feedback. Apparently, I didn't introduce you, but I feel like if you've stuck with us for 32 episodes now, you would
Yeah.
already know
Don't need
who
it.
we are, what we're about, and you know how professional we are. We like to
Yep.
keep you on your toes. Sometimes we do some funny things. Sometimes I mispronounce words. Sometimes I give you extra letters. Sometimes I don't. But whatever. We have.
Sometimes you function on 3 hours sleep and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, there's 5 this time.
5.
Had a wedding, so it is. We've got Cocaine Bear, so get hyped for that. That is based on the true story. And then Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Shazam. Yep, and Operation Fortune, Ruse de Goon. That's how you
Yeah, I
say
don't
it.
know what that word is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know that's how you
Rue de,
say it.
Rue de Guerre or Guerre, I don't even know. I'm looking it up.
I'm gonna stick with my version. Ruse de
You know why it's in there.
Goon. That sounds way better.
Ruse de Groon.
It rolls off the tongue. But yeah, so fun times, fun times ahead. And back by popular demand, which has never actually gone away, but it's back anyway. It is movie news. Movie news. See the different tones in there? Sometimes I get excited. But this one is exciting. We don't really stick to the rules, so we'll try and maybe throw the rules in there sometimes. But anyway, this is more about your movie news coming to you. Robert Downey Jr. looking to star in the Vertigo remake. What is he going to do? Will he do it?
Oh, wow. As
Yeah,
in Vertigo.
as in Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Mm.
They're doing a remake? I did not even know that.
What you do now?
Okay.
This is why we have movie news. So
Why we
you
have
know.
movie news to learn the news, the movies.
That's right.
Uh, okay, sure. I don't hate Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
I don't know why this movie needs a remake.
You know,
I think
current audience and all that stuff. It's
yeah,
remakes are the hype though.
but
Remakes,
it holds up.
games.
I think some things need a remake because they don't hold up anymore, but have a good story to tell. I think Vertigo, it'd be like doing a Rear Window remake. It's already a masterpiece. Like, why? I think remaking it with modern techniques and stuff are going to almost take away from the Hitchcock effect. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. I mean, sure. Why not? They can do what they want. They're grown ups.
But what Hitchcock, what he created was like there's so I don't go art housey into it.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
do.
To me, it's already spectacular. There's no like I don't know anyone who was crying out for a Vertigo remake. Just seems like a really unnecessary, and it's not gonna be as good because Hitchcock had full control and was ridiculous.
I'm sure we'll watch
Whatever.
it. But
Yeah, I'm gonna hate it.
Stephen Knight to replace Damon Lindelof on script for this new Star Wars film. So just when you thought Peaky Blinders creator Stephen couldn't get any better, he's now doing the script for the new Star Wars movie.
Okay, that's
Well,
interesting.
you said Peaky Blinders was good. I still haven't watched
Yeah,
it. You liked it?
well written, good characters.
Yeah. So hopefully they can redeem themselves after the current trilogy. Like it wasn't overly
Joke.
bad, but wasn't good.
It just didn't have any vision. Like it was obvious that they didn't know what movie 3 was going to be about when they were making movie 1. Like that to me is its biggest loss.
Which is so surprising considering how much like extra lore there is, like the books and stuff. Like it was so already, like the universe was there already. All they had to do was take what was there. Like you had
Exactly.
the twins, like Han Solo and Leia's twins, and you could have just used them as they do in the original and like have them having to fight off as because one gets corrupted by the dark side. Like it's all there, which
Yeah.
essentially they kind of did, but they didn't do, and they tried to change it. I don't know. I was just upset with the high pants and no direction and all sorts of things that were happening in there. But
I think at this
whatever.
point, just give it to John Favreau and Dave Filoni, like
Yeah.
the creators of Mandalorian. Like the reason Mandalorian is so successful is because they understand what makes Star Wars Star Wars. Like they use puppetry and they keep it kind of campy and the heroes are larger than life. Like I think sticking to what's the tried and true of Star Wars is really the way to go. Like I know that I'm always saying do things new and different, but if you're going to release new stuff, try and like just anyway. I'm gonna go on a
Just,
rant here, but yeah, I just
yeah.
think that John Favreau and Dave Filoni did such a beautiful job with Mandalorian, such a successful job. Why not just give them a trilogy at this
Yeah.
point?
Give them a go. But are they just going to use them for more TV shows? Because like that's obviously
Yeah,
selling their subscription service. Because
I think
once,
like you said though, like there's so much to draw from already. There's so much lore and there's so much history of over hundreds, thousands of years. Why do we need to keep doing stuff connected to Skywalkers and all that? Like I know that, we've got prequels and sequels and back and forth and whatever, like yeah, and that's part of the attraction. But at this point, I'd be happy with something completely left field
okay,
that I know nothing about yet.
yeah, I mean they kind of did that with like Rogue One and a couple others, but for me, Rogue One was a
Rogue One was
miss.
still, yeah, it was a terrible movie, but they still, again, that was still, even though it wasn't Skywalker, it was still all the events leading up to New Hope.
Okay, yeah, fair.
And while Mandalorian's something new and different, they still ended up tying it together with Boba Fett. And
Hmm.
now there's all this Jedi stuff coming into new episodes. I'm not sure how much you've watched. Um,
I've only seen the first two. I'm excited to see what
yeah.
they do with the Jedi stuff, though.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not against, but again, like, give us something that's different. There's so much to build on
Yeah,
for
fair.
sure, and stop trying to make up new shit that makes no fucking sense. Like the new trilogies, would just I can't rewatch them. It's the only Star Wars I can't rewatch because it's just the last movie was ridiculous. Like the fucking why is Palpatine back? It made no sense.
Yeah, because he
It was
cloned
just
himself, didn't he? Didn't he have all those
I
clones?
understand the reasons they gave us, but like in terms of writing, why is he back? We don't need him back.
Just have a
It's
new
such a
villain.
but
It
it's an
could have.
easy grab because it's oh look, he's back again. Like it just feels like a fucking mummy movie at that point, Like it's just
Yeah, you could have had the First Order take over from the Empire. Like that would have been cooler.
that was fine.
Yeah.
That was fine. I'm sick of redemption arcs, like bad guys having oh he's actually a good guy with bad experiences and trauma and whatever, and like that constant good guys needing to have that oh should they go to the back like to the dark side. I just it's so formulated and the new Star Wars presented nothing that Marvel haven't presented in the past 10 years.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But
I'm
something that
sucky about
there's something you are excited about. The final
it.
Renfield trailer shows Nicholas Holt breaking free from Nick Cage's Dracula.
Okay, I haven't seen the new trailer yet. Sick.
Not yet, but yeah, there's a new one
So
out.
down.
So get keen
Cool.
for that.
When's it
Jordan
come out again? I
Peele.
keep forgetting.
Ooh,
Sorry.
soon, I think. It wasn't April. I think April's a reasonable lineup of stuff coming out.
May. Oh man, I thought it was April as well. Meant to be
Okay.
April 14th, and now it says
Delayed.
25th of May. Maybe it was delayed.
Maybe.
Still said April 14th, United States. Okay, so it's either mid-April or it's late May.
Who knows?
Don't know.
We'll see.
I'm
Jordan
excited.
Peele's next film to arrive at Christmas 2024.
Cool.
What do you reckon it'll be though? Like he's all over the place.
It's a thing, yeah. He doesn't really have a standard at the moment. He's done a bit of everything.
Yeah. So who knows? Denzel Washington joins Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel. Interesting.
Okay.
I'm assuming I don't know what he'll play, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the history of black people in
The
what
gladiator.
ancient Rome?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
in Blood and Sandals, which is Spartacus's
I'm sure it's not
story,
called Blood and Sandals.
is it not?
Pretty sure it's Blood and Sand.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's Blood and Sandals.
It's such a funny title. I don't think it's that.
Pretty confident it is.
I thought it was Blood in the Sand even.
No, it is Blood and Sand.
Blood and Sandals.
I don't know, 'cause
There
they
needs to be like a dad version that's like called Blood and Sock and Sandals.
where am I getting this from? There is a game on Steam called Spartacus, which is Swords and Sandals. I don't know
Oh,
what.
okay.
I don't know.
Maybe you've combined the two in your head.
No, this is the first time I've ever seen this game. It's like a
Oh,
2D side scrolling something.
okay.
I don't know.
It's just your brain, man. That's
It
fine.
is.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
cool.
I reckon
Denzel Washington.
that's a better name. I like that.
Blood and Sandals.
Sandals.
That's,
I'm making
that's really funny.
I'm making a rip off.
Really funny.
Yeah. Fool. You remember the movie Fool? It got
Yeah.
put onto Netflix based off the success that it had on Netflix. It's now getting a sequel
Oh,
called
cool.
Fooling.
Dumb.
No, I don't know if it's actually called that.
Oh, okay.
Just
Let's say
threw
dumb
it out
name.
there. Yeah. I reckon that'd be
Falling.
or
I wouldn't put it
fools.
past them, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know. I reckon that's kind of funny. I
Probably
laughed
like
at it.
Fall 2 TOO, some shit like that. Like
Yeah.
Fall as well. Like, oh, get it.
Yeah. I
So
don't
many
know.
levels. Like
I
an
feel
elevator.
that'd be cool. Mike Flanagan wants to bring Dr. Sleep's character into his Dark Tower adaptation. Pretty sure they did a
None of those words mean anything to me. What?
They did a Dark Tower adaptation already, and it flopped hard.
What's Dark Tower?
Dark Tower is Stephen King's like novel series. He did
Oh, okay.
a series called The Dark Tower, which
Okay.
is apparently pretty good. I read the first book and I didn't mind it. It's very different to his usual sort of horror one-offs kind of thing. But
Okay.
there is Tricky King Stories and Dr. Sleep with Success. Dr. Sleep, his adaptation of The King in the Shining sequel. Okay. I don't know enough
Sure.
about that, but yeah,
I
interesting.
mean, if anyone's going to do it, Mike Flanagan makes sense. He's got pretty good history and doesn't
Yeah,
just rely on jump scares. So,
yeah. So
Yeah.
interested to see how that goes. And that is all for this week's movie news. I reckon that was pretty cool. There's quite a number of things that were happening there.
actual couple of things I'm interested in. I'm going to watch a new Enfield trailer after this for sure.
Oh yeah, sick. But
Hell yeah.
let's move on to our first lineup, which is the hype movie that we were excited for. The trailer looked like it was going to be an absolute comedy ride in terms of what was happening. It is based on, well, I would say it's kind of loosely based on the true story of about a bear.
Very loosely.
Yeah, it takes the
Like,
premise of what kind of happened and has obviously taken its own spin on it. But this is Cocaine Bear, an oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge on a Georgia forest where a black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine. So,
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a comedy thriller, which is brought to you by Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks, who I love.
So she's
great.
She's a blonde lady, isn't she? Yeah, that's her. Yep.
She is a blonde lady. Yep.
Yep. She's the one she's more comedy than anything. She is the announcer in Pitch Perfect.
Yep.
She's
in Scrubs. She's in heaps. She's in Hunger Games. 30 Rock.
Was she with Seth Rogen? Yeah, Zach and Mimi make a porno, whatever it was.
Zach and Miri make a porno. Yep.
Yeah.
She's in that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's very funny. And
she is. I love her. She's fantastic.
Seeing her name plastered everywhere, I was like, oh, is this her first like directing? Oh, she's got 7 listed on here.
She has history, but this is very different to her history. Like she did the new Charlie's Angels reboot.
She also did Pitch Perfect 2.
Sure. So yeah, I knew she did one of them.
So she had 2
Um,
shorts, one called AIDS, We Did It, Just a Little Heart Attack, 2 shorts. Then she did a segment in Movie 43. That was that mashup movie that was just a mess of everything.
Okay.
Pitch Perfect 2, Charlie's Angels, and now Cocaine Bear. And then she's
Mhm.
got an upcoming one called The Greater Good, which
Okay.
I know nothing about. So,
Yeah, I'll talk more about her directing a little later.
yeah.
I think.
So essentially, this starts with a drug lord in a plane that. What's he doing? Does he
The
die?
plane's like going down. Yeah,
That's
yeah. So
right.
the plane's
Yeah.
going down. This is the only part I'll mention now that's actually a true story. So there's a plane going down. He throws all the cocaine out the side of the plane, puts his backpack on. As he jumps out, he knocks his head. He's unconscious on the fall down. He dies. Um, that part they sort of fabricated a little bit, but from what I understand, he did die from a malfunction of his parachute when he jumped.
Okay.
And the other true part is that a bear found this cocaine, ate it, and died a couple of hours later because of it.
Yeah, it did go on a rampage.
That's
though.
the real story. No,
Did it not? No.
That's not what I've read.
Ooh, I did read that it actually did go on a rampage, but it was like a short-lived rampage. It was like,
But no one died.
Yeah, like
It
it
was even
went.
hurt.
Oh, okay.
That's what I heard or read.
Oh, wow. You talk more. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Okay, sure thing.
True story.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that's really, from my understanding, I'll get to that in a second about the true story.
Oh, do you
But
know what
this
they
movie
called it?
takes
Sorry,
what?
the
Oh
cocaine
yeah,
bear. Also,
Pablo Escobar.
Escobar.
Yeah,
That's
that's
so
pretty good.
Or Corky the
Um,
bear.
my understanding is that the majority of this story is more or less written by Reddit. So there was a Reddit post talking about the original story, and then Reddit will like made up all these funny like, oh, imagine this, imagine that, and supposedly that is what gave birth to the idea of this film. Was a Reddit post. So, yep.
Is it true
Um,
about bears? About black bears don't attack, or like they point reference if it's what they say if it's
if it's
black,
brown, lie down.
if
If
it's
it's black,
black
fight
fight
back.
back. Yeah, is
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
that
I don't know.
true in terms of bears?
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
live
know.
near bears to know that well enough.
No,
Sounds good.
I mean it's catchy. It's a good way to
Yeah,
remember it.
yeah, sure.
So
Um, but yeah, so this movie follows like multiple characters who all sort of come together at the end. I'll talk about the end later. So there's the drug cartel that are trying to get the cocaine back. This is Ray Liotta's last film. I found out at the end they did a little in dedication too. Um, so yeah, he was like the head mafia drug dude, whatever. He sent out his son Eddie and David, who's like two of his lackeys, I suppose, to go find it. Um, that's a whole thing. Then there's a woman whose daughter and daughter's friend, like kids, 13-year-olds or even younger, have gone missing in the woods because they're just wagging school. Um, there's the mountain ranger woman and her love interest, who's the guy, one of the gay guys from Modern Family, Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Um, and then there's also at the start, there's some random like Swedish family who are there who are like they die in the cold opening, or she does anyway. That's Christopher Hivju, who is from Game of Thrones.
yeah,
He's like the Redbeard wildling, and yeah, and he's in this playing like some hoopty doopty Swedish man. There's a lot more cameos in this than I was expecting, but that's Elizabeth Banks, I suppose. She has the power. She has a lot of connections. But yeah, the movie sort of follows all these different random stories happening all at once, and then at the end they sort of bring them all together in a not great way. I'll go straight into opinions, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, so just before we do that, apparently
Please.
the guy that was parachuting, he died because he was carrying too much when he jumped out. So
So heavy for the parachute.
so when he pulled his parachute, he was too heavy carrying too many
Putting bars of
containers.
coke, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently he had 40 open plastic containers with traces of cocaine.
Sure. Okay.
That's a lot.
How about the truth of the bear rampage? You prove me wrong yet?
No, apparently they just found the body, which
Yeah.
is highly disappointing.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like this was literally just a bear died in the woods from ingesting some cocaine. It was more or less like a Reddit post that made it interesting.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the autopsy says there has 3 to 4 grams of cocaine in its bloodstream, and they reckon it
No idea.
may have ingested more.
No idea if that's a lot or not.
I feel like it is. If it can kill a bear with that much in the
And
bloodstream,
it's powder, so I guess grams is pretty heavy.
yeah, I feel like that's a lot. But
No
would
idea.
it be tasty for a bear? Like,
I don't know.
does it have a taste?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Zero idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie is such a weird mix of genres. I guess I'll start by saying that there are moments in this movie, and it's all filmed in the day, so there's no like horror, scary, creeping around at night in the shadows moments. But there are some moments that are genuinely scary with the bear. Like with a slight shift in lighting, it would just be a fucking straight out of a horror film. And they were like the best parts. They were really fun. The bear was properly scary. Actors did a fantastic job. Yeah, it was like the scene I've got behind me, well, the scene sort of made up behind me with this bear jumping towards an ambulance it holds like that scene alone makes this movie worth watching. It was so fun and so like over the top and ridiculous, but also like I'm gonna say grounded, but it's not really grounded at all. It's just over the top and ridiculous. But like still believable in like the way the actors behave, I guess, is what I'm saying by grounded. It feels believable in the actor portrayal.
Okay.
Character portrayal. Yeah, what do you think in terms of that genre and how and I guess my other side, sorry, is that when they're wandering through the woods and they're just sort of hanging out together, it just feels like a sitcom almost. Watching these characters interact, and if there's a bit of disconnect, and I think, and I don't mean to shit on Elizabeth Banks, I love her, but I think this came down to when she was just filming on her own and was the lead director, then she just filmed generic comedy scenes, which she's used to. But when they had a stunt team and a stunt director and a special effects coordinator and all these people working together, they got some really amazing scenes, and I think that's actually her fault. Sadly, because I do love her. But anyway, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I found this a little bit difficult in terms of how I feel about it. So I feel like not watching the trailer is probably better to go into the film. So we watched the trailer and then I got hyped for it. I was like, this is going to be over the top, really like fun sort of ride in terms of how like quick pace the sort of trailer was. And I was expecting just like kind of nonsense, like everything dialed up to like 11. But coming into it, it wasn't that. Like it wasn't what I was coming in expecting.
Sure, yeah. Or at least not the whole time.
Yeah, like I think they did quite a good job. I feel like there was too many things going on. Like I didn't care for the kids, like the kids storyline and the mum going to search. Like it added absolutely nothing. I would have preferred it to have just sort of the guys trying to get their drugs back, like the bear attacking people going hiking, like you're in the woods. The mother didn't seem very believable, like searching for her kids. The kids seemed like there were a couple of funny moments. Like they had a couple of good banter moments, but overall, I didn't care for the kids at all. The park ranger had moments, like she was quite funny, and I would have liked to see maybe the park ranger trying to like discover, I guess, the cocaine and stop the drug lords more. Like I would have liked that to probably be
Yeah,
the main focus of the story, where
I
it
agree.
it
She was great.
yeah, like it
That
that
would have been
wasn't
she was the hero of the story. Yeah, totally
yeah.
agree.
And then it would have been her trying to, like, I don't know, have the conflict of her protecting the bear and stopping the bear from hunting the hikers, and
Yeah.
then obviously trying to discover where all this cocaine was being dropped and
Yep.
allowing that to unfold. But
And
it
in fact,
didn't.
that was when, sorry, to quickly get to that point while you're there, when we met Jesse Tyler Ferguson's character, the environmentalist mountain ranger love interest guy. I thought that's what his role was going to be. He was going to be the don't shoot the bear, even though he's killing everyone, don't shoot the bear. And then he just died
Yeah. Yep.
horrifically.
So it wasn't even till like later on that the bear sort of even went into mad rampage. Like there was the rampage where it was it the ambulance where it was in chasing the ambulance and it was in
Yeah.
there chomping people. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the CGI, I was okay because those moments were so over the top. Like the
Mhm.
CGI of the bear didn't look the best, but
Yeah.
because those scenes were like dialed to 11, and then everything else was kind of like at a 5. Like there
Mhm.
was moments where the film was just kind of chugging along. Then we'd
Yep.
have a ridiculous moment where it would go up to like that sort of what I was expecting, and then it would come back down. And
Yes.
that wasn't the ride I want. If you're basing this off of these random stories, like you said, how they came up with it on Reddit, like
Mhm.
play into it, get this over the
Exactly.
top. Even
Exactly.
even the henchmen, like the drug cartel henchmen, like the fight scene in the bathroom, like that was okay, and there was a few
Ugh,
one-liners, and like
film like shit.
when he lost his finger, like there was a couple of interesting moments,
Yeah.
but they,
Yeah, that scene is really funny with
yeah,
the when the police officer on top of the gazebo and
yeah,
they're all there with the bear and yeah, that was pretty funny.
but just it wasn't enough, and it just wasn't. I don't know. They didn't have the continuity of like
Yeah,
flowing the film, which was really
definitely.
disappointing. This is a kind of like a. It's not as bad as like Suicide Squad, but in terms of getting hype from a trailer,
Hmm.
it gives me that vibe in terms of I was really
Definitely.
excited, but unfortunately the product sort of lets you down. Kind of like Sea Monkeys, where you're like, oh my god, Sea Monkeys are amazing, and then you get the product and it's like, oh, yeah,
You mentioned sea
that's
monkeys on this
this.
podcast before.
I
I
know,
love sea monkeys. It's so
but
funny.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think you're not wrong there. Like we didn't like you said, I would have preferred rather than having four different disjointed stories and then they like spoiler territory if you care, but at the end, um randomly the one of the girls is taken like sorry the young girl Dee Dee who is the mother's daughter obviously she gets taken by the bear rather than killed and she's like
Mhm.
living with the cubs. I don't fucking know, it makes no sense. Why would a bear on cocaine do that? But whatever. um and so she's there and all of a sudden she gets rescued and then all of a sudden because they're hunting the bear, the bad drug cartel rock up, and then there's like them on a cliff, and they're like pointing guns at each other, and then some characters jump, and other characters jump and die. It all just like it was very tossed together. The end was so unsatisfying and stupid. Whereas this would have been really fun, like you said, if it was this incompetent mountain ranger and this guy she's really awkward in front of and whatever. And they are like the heroes, almost the accidental heroes, but they have no one else to do it. And that's what I thought was going to happen because she was like, everyone here thinks that I'm unfit for my job and whatever. And then she just died. Like we set up all this character with her, and then she just dies in a really cool way, mind you. Um, but yeah, she just dies, and that's a lot of these characters. Like I think they're setting things up, and then oh no, they're just gonna die. They were just action scene fodder.
Yeah, they were just there for no reason. It's like
Yeah.
they could have just had randoms in the woods just being terrorized by the bear, rather than
Yep.
trying to get a cohesive story of like the mum and the kids. And
Yep.
I don't know, it's just I was highly disappointed with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not like I think there was still enough for me to enjoy. Like I sort of switched off once I sort of knew what it was going to be, I sort of switched off the care brain and just treated this like a sitcom. Which probably made the horror scenes even more like jarring because I'm like, what the fuck? This is not a sitcom. But yeah, like I didn't actually hate it. I didn't like I'm not disappointed in it. It could have been a lot more exciting. But I think, and I've mentioned this before 1,000 times. I know I'm beating dead horse at this point or a dead bear, but I'll always say, like, I'd much prefer there was animatronics, puppetry, physical effects, and not because the bear looked bad, and not because it would have been a better movie if the bear looked better, because it doesn't matter. The problem with CG is expensive per shot, or per minute, or per second. It's not expensive per movie. When you are trying to film scenes thinking about budget, which is very obvious in this movie, there are scenes where the bear is a threat because they tell us it's a threat, not because we see it. There's an entire scene pretty much when we do see Jesse Tyler Ferguson's character die in a tree. The whole lead up to there, we don't see the bear at all. And it's like we just see them reacting, whatever. And that's because they're trying to avoid showing the bear as much as they can. When they do show the bear, costs money. When they don't, they can get away with, spending a couple $1,000 rather than a couple million. And it's obvious that they plan around that. Whereas if you do have a CGI, if you do have a animatronic or puppetry or whatever, man in a suit, I don't care. Because they spend so much money on making it, they want to show it off. They want to show us how amazing it looks. And at that point, they've already made it, so they might as well use as much as they can. And I think that made a huge difference in how this movie was presented, because the really, really fun scenes are the scenes with the bear. The scenes that you're just waiting to finish to move on to get more bear scenes, obviously scenes without the bear. If you had a movie put together where the bear could be shown as much as you wanted to without worrying about money, this would have been a more cohesive film. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there was enough there that it was okay. It's just I was hyped and then I was disappointed by it. So it's not
overhyped. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely overhyped. And I unfortunately jumped into that bandwagon. So yeah.
We're meant to think how they want us to think. You mentioned Suicide Squad. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. So a good trailer. Okay film. Disappointed overall. But taking that away, it's like a 3. Like it's enough that you go, yeah, it's reasonable. But if you watch the trailer and you're on the hype train, then unfortunately you're going to be slightly disappointed of what you're actually getting.
But, yeah. There are enough moments to make this a fun ride, but like you said, I was expecting a wild ride, and I definitely didn't get that. Got it for about maybe 10 minutes total.
Yep.
Definitely, if you're not interested in watching the movie, then don't bother. If you can find a way just to watch the ambulance scene, I don't know how, but watching the 3 characters die in that scene, it's not a spoiler because they're nothing characters, is really, really fun. So that alone is worth the price of admission, I would say. But yeah, 3 is perfect. That's why I gave it as well. Like it's good enough to say, yeah, you can go watch it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it or even pay money, if I'm honest. So maybe it's not worth the price of admission.
Yeah, it's definitely not a rewatch or like a must see, but it's enough that it's interesting. Like it's got an interesting backstory how they came up with the idea and stuff. Like that's kind of cool. But yeah, watch something else.
Yeah.
Watch
it was okay.
Yeah. All right. Shazam. So let's move on.
Yeah.
So I now got powers. But this is the sequel to Shazam. So the DC universe. So the first film of Shazam, I don't think you watched, did you, Lawson?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay.
When I watched this, it felt familiar.
Okay.
So I think I have seen the first. Obviously, it wasn't very memorable, but I think I remember liking it more than this.
This is the first film I really liked. I enjoyed Shazam, the first film. So it was, look, I watch all the superhero films because I do enjoy superheroes, where DC unfortunately have had a terrible run. Like Justice League was an absolute dumpster fire. and then they got what was it, the Snyder Cut, which made it better, but it still wasn't great. Obviously, you've got your standalone Batmans, so obviously your Christopher Nolan film's really good, and then you've got Green Lantern, which no one ever talks about.
No.
Ryan Reynolds, even
Yeah.
I like how he
Yeah.
makes fun of it.
Same. Yeah.
Like you kind of have to. It is what it is. And then you got your Supermans, like Henry Cavill. Like he did a good job of like getting Superman back in. But like it doesn't have the success of Marvel. Like I don't know what they've done wrong. They're just not producing as good a quality as the Marvel universe, although the Marvel current phase isn't as good as it once was. But that's not what we're here to talk about. This is the continuation of Shazam. So Shazam is about a boy named Billy Batson, however you say it. Batson is how it's spelled. Bat and then son. He
Sure, Batson's fine.
Yep.
No
He met the wizard in the first film and was granted a magical word that gives him powers, and obviously that word is Shazam. And then at the end of the first film, he ended up obviously saving the day and brought in his family. So then the rest of his family are all have powers. So he's an orphan, isn't he? That's like an orphan sort of house.
Yeah, it's like a boarding house. I guess. Not a boarding house. What do they call it? Like a foster home.
That's it, a foster home. So he lives there, and they are essentially his family, where they all get different powers. So this film is
different powers. They'll get the same power.
They all sort of got the same powers. I believe they got super strength, flying. They pretty much have all powers. It's kind of they're kind of like Superman, really, just with
very much so
a magical changing word. Where this film focuses on three they were sisters that were all older, and they are trying to come and claim the powers in the world for themselves. It's very, very generic in terms of storytelling, which unfortunately is disappointing because I enjoyed the first film. This has a love interest with Billy's best friend, the one with the crutches, which is Freddie. Freddie falls for Athena, and there's a whole love interest there, even though she is like 3,000 years old or 6,000 years old or whatever it is. Like she's really old, but she falls and is for some reason not as old as her sisters, which I found that really odd. Like there's the really old sister who's like the leader of the evil crew. Then there's the lackey.
It was Helen Mirren as well.
Yeah.
But like I never would have thought. I mean, she's also been in some of the Fast and Furious movies, so I shouldn't talk too highly of her. But Helen Mirren as the bad guys was pretty weird.
Hespera, I think that's how you say it. She was the baddie. She was leading it, and because Shazam, Shazam broke the magical wand, and that was the only way for these guys to come back in, which is convenient, but also an average way to like all of a sudden let these these guys in.
This was exactly that. Like, and
then you got
I'll believe it because you told me to believe it. Like, I don't fucking care. Sorry, keep going.
Then you got Lucy Liu, who is the middle sister, who's essentially the thug of the group or the enforcer, like whatever you want to.
I know.
She doesn't really
Lucy Liu.
She doesn't really have much of a speaking role either. Like
no, she's fuck all. She's really boring for really fun. Like I think she's maybe not fun, but I think she's done some pretty cool shit.
Yeah, I liked her in Elementary, where she was playing with Sherlock, the American version. But yeah, she doesn't really do much besides show up and shoot some magical stuff around. And they fly a wooden dragon. I don't know why it was wooden. It was so odd. But
anyway.
But Freddie,
I focused on.
Freddie loses his powers, and then the whole thing is about them trying to stop the sisters from coming and taking their powers. And then you get some cameos. We get the wizard that obviously gave Shazam their magical powers, and it's just
his best character.
Yeah, he's definitely got some one-liners. Although I
He's
do
real fun.
like Zach Levy. Like I loved him in Chuck. I do enjoy his sort of bumbling idiot kind of
Yeah.
facade. Like I think that's the character he plays, and that he does it reasonably well. I wouldn't
Yeah, I
mind
think
seeing
one thing
him
that
in
this
it something
movie,
different.
sure, I haven't seen a whole lot, if I'm honest. I think one thing that this does do well, and one of my positive notes I have written down, is that this, like the fact that these adults are, kids on the inside, really comes across quite well at times. And I think Zach Levi or Levy or whatever it is, does bring that really, really well. And that's probably something I enjoyed in the first one as well, is that it's fun. Like you watching this kid explore what it's like to be an adult overnight, as well as all the powers and stuff like that within itself, pretty fun. It's like that Suddenly 30 movie. It's still a bad movie, but like it's like,
Uh,
well, it's interesting concept.
it reminds me of Big. Was it
Yeah.
Tom Hanks?
Yep. Tom
Yeah,
Hanks. Yep.
yeah. Where it's like
Exactly.
I do find it odd that it's a teenager turning into a middle-aged man. Like it's just
Yes.
it's a
Especially when
weird
it comes to
concept.
when there's moments like at the beginning where
He's on a date with
characters
Wonder
are
Woman.
named. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And he's meant to be turning 18 soon.
yeah.
Same with the other kid who was like the main guy in this one. Um, what's his name? Freddie,
Ready?
the
Yeah,
Crutches kid.
yep.
When he was in his super Shazam mode, um, he was like being hit on by some middle-aged women and stuff, and he had his arms around them, and he's still in high school. Like that's the time that it feels weird. Like you don't forget. You keep reminding me with their actions that they are children or teenagers in these bodies, and yet you're trying to make me have some sort of like it's okay for them to be interested in middle-aged women. Yeah, they make a
Yeah,
joke one point. Why are all my boys like? Why are all my boys interested in old women or something?
yeah. I don't know. They yeah,
Foster mom says.
definitely self-aware, and there were moments where it was really enjoyable, like when they found the pen, the pen that knows all and like scribes for him,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
he's writing the note, but it writes everything, and as it reads it
yeah. I
out, like
giggled.
yeah,
That's a very that's there was a few moments where like that. I think the writers are D&D players because that felt very D&D esque. So
yeah,
did there's even a line later where Shazam, I think, or even could be Freddy, is trying to think of like solutions and is like he's spitting out all these things and they're all D&D things. He talks about Wand of Wonder and he talks about invisibility potion and things like that. And they're all things that are in the D&D world. I was like, that's really cool. So I really think that the writers of this have some D&D history because there's a few moments I thought, yeah, that's like inspired by. Um,
yeah.
but there wasn't much I liked, if I'm honest.
No, he reminded me, unfortunately, of like Thor 2. So like
Sure.
I enjoyed the first Thor movie, but Thor 2 just there's no like really moments where I even was concerned about the characters. Like there's what 5 or 6 of them. I can't remember how many, but they've all got these powers. And like, yes, a couple lose their
6.
powers, but it's like there was no real big threat of anything. Like you
No.
knew they were going to come out of it. I know that's most like superhero films, but there's got to be something for them to overcome. Like when the girl, spoiler territory, has like does the unicorns, because the unicorns are the most feared beasts, and she throws like taste the rainbow. It's the closest we got.
Oh my god, it's so bad. The shameless product placement. She says it 3 fucking times. You know that was in the contract.
Yeah.
My god. Sorry, I've written that down. Taste the rainbow. Shameless. Twice, 3 times.
Yeah.
My fucking horse. I'm sorry. That really pissed me off. It is shameless. Put an Audi in a Marvel film, no worries. You give me the slogan for Skittles 3 times in 10 minutes. Sorry. Triggered.
Yeah. That whole unicorn scene was just it was unneeded. They were like, how do we stop this? Or like, how do we do it? It's just it didn't make sense. It didn't make sort of anything like a reason why. It took everything that was like fun, heartwarming from the first film that was actually like a reasonable superhero film of them like discovering their powers and stuff.
Yep.
Where it didn't come across in this film, which is disappointing. Like, yes, it will probably get a third film. Like, there's no way it probably won't.
I reckon.
I reckon it will. Definitely will. Look how much they've invested.
Has it been successful?
I believe so. I think they've pumped too much money into the Shazam. It's got 1 and 2. Then they've got Black Adam. Like, Black Adam is essentially in the same universe as Shazam. Okay. Yeah. And that's why their costumes look very, very similar. And then there's a big falling out between was it The Rock and Zach Levy because of the Superman reveal or whatever. Oh. I haven't really followed it that closely, but it will definitely get 3. Like, it's probably one of the most successful, that Superman, and like there's not much else that has been overly successful besides the standalone Batman films. Like, there's Aquaman.
They haven't made budget yet.
Aquaman sucks. I hate Aquaman.
They've grossed 73 million, and the budget was 125. So they're still
they'll get it
under, but yeah, whatever. Such a fucking generic piece of shit. I think Thor 2 is a pretty good comparison. I actually have seen Thor 2 and I was so bored.
Yeah, it was.
Nothing happens, and like it's the same thing as fucking always. One of the main characters dies. And then through some bullshit magic hooba jooba bullcrap at the end, guess what? He's not dead. Like, what's the fucking point? You've put me through what? This goes for 2 hours, hour and a half, hour and 40, whatever the fuck it was. Put me through this long, and nothing from the beginning of the film was different at the end of the film at all. Nothing. No characters have changed. No characters have died. I don't think characters need to die for the movie to have weight, but give us something. Like, life should be different from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. Whether it's a character development or a world development or whatever.
Yep. 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Fucking. No, this was horseshit. This was the biggest waste of fucking time. Like, it wasn't I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad movie. Like, it looks fine. The characters are fine. There's nothing offensive. Like, I'll always refer back to, oh shit, I forgot the name. We Have a Ghost. That to me was like offensively bad. This was just fucking boring. It's just another superhero film with the end boss being a giant CGI monster, just like everything else we've seen. And then they fight it, and then they win, and then they're gonna lose, and then something happens, and they win, and they get some new power, or some other kid comes in and saves the day. The fucking unicorns. Like, this was just, it was from the get-go, from the minute it started, you knew exactly how it was going to end. And it meant nothing, and it's such a fart in the wind, and I don't care about it at all.
What would you give it then?
A 1.
A 1.
1. It's a 1. It's so nothing. There's nothing redeeming about it. I don't think it's such a formulated, crappy. Like, yes, I laughed a couple of moments, but I mean, big whoop. I laughed. I could get more laughter out of 10 minutes of TikTok than I could out of this 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck would I bother? The moment. You need to tell me this. Is Wonder Woman at the end, is that the actual Wonder Woman actor?
Yeah, with the reveal. It was, yeah.
Why the hell is the scene where he's dating Wonder Woman, the entire thing is filmed from the back of her head, and it is so obvious and shit.
Yeah.
Pick that up.
Yeah.
Like, if you have her actually the actor at the end, surely you pay her another day and you film an actual dating scene, because he's talking to her and her back is to him, and she stands there with her arms crossed, and then she turns around and we see the back of her head with him in shot this time. It was like really, really obvious, shameless. Like, they didn't even care. Why should I?
Right.
Yeah, just over it. This reminds me of the reason I don't watch. I know that this is nothing like what Marvel is, and Marvel has a big following for a reason. But this just reminds me of why I don't bother with superhero movies and stuff, because it's just generic bullshit. Everything's the same, and I just waste my time.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that bad. It didn't live up to the hype that I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to at least be more enjoyable than it was. Like, CGI was fine. had some laughs. It had reasonable fight scenes, but I do agree that there was no stakes to it. Like the villains sucked. And that's what makes a good superhero film. Like you need a good villain. You need something for them to overcome. It just never felt like there was really that much of an obstacle in their way. Like, sure, some lose their powers and then they have to like work around it, but because they've got so much at their disposal and they've got all the powers like you could ever sort of want, and unfortunately, the powers come back to them. Like they need to lose them permanently. Like there's got to be some escalation for them to sort of have to deal with. So it's more than a 1. It's like it's a 2.5 for me. Like I still enjoyed it because I do like superheroes and I think they did a reasonable job. I enjoyed Zach Levy in it. I do enjoy his performance, but unfortunately it's not as good and I wouldn't recommend people to sort of go see it. So it can't be a 3.
Surprised it's 2.5.
Yeah. Hey.
This is completely disagree. This is such a fucking waste of time.
Yeah. I like superheroes though. You don't, so there's a
I suppose. I like some. Like I have rewatched many times the original Spider-Man. I have rewatched many times the original Iron Man 1 and 2. Even the first, arguably the second Captain America. Like there are superhero films that I have a good time with.
Yeah.
But not this generic formulated crap. No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well then, let's go into Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre. I don't know how to say the last word.
It's hold on. I've got it here. I've got the pronunciation ready.
Yeah.
Ruse de Guerre.
The Guerre.
Ruse de Guerre, which is the ruse of war.
Oh, that makes way
generically what
sense.
is understood by ruse of war can be separated into 2 groups. First classifiers, who gives a shit? I'm done talking. Go, Ryman.
So this is Special Agent Orson Fortune and his team of operates recruit one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars, and I bet you can't guess he is currently having a resurgence for whatever reason. I don't understand why this actor's all of a sudden making waves again. Was he like had a break and then was like, I need to come back? I'll get to that anyway. Help them.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
It's so weird considering we were talking about him a couple of weeks ago.
Right. That's what I was alluding to. You ruined it for everyone now.
I do that.
Movie star to help them on an undercover mission when the sale of a deadly new weapons technology threatens to disrupt the world order. So this is Jason Statham, whatever. He is a action hero, and I quite like him as an action hero. I think he's got the gruffness, and he does a reasonable job of like comedy / action hero. This is Guy Ritchie's film. So Guy Ritchie is known for Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels from 1998 and Snatch in 2000. And they are spectacular movies.
Yep.
Everything he's done since has been bad. Or at least okay.
I wouldn't say it's been bad, but
not the same.
It's like coming out of the gate with those two and then unfortunately not delivering with the rest of it.
I think not to get too into detail already, but I think why Snatch and Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels are so good is they had budget restraints. They couldn't go over the top ridiculous. They had to film most things like a bottle. And I think the restraints what made those movies so good. This is such anyway.
So this film obviously revolves around the special operation team, where I gotta say, like the visuals look really nice, like shots and the scenes. The scenes are really nice. It's shot well. There's like good costume design. Like everyone looks like what they're supposed to. The acting's reasonable. Like there wasn't many times I was like, "Ooh, that's a bit odd." Besides, Jason did really well. I enjoyed Sarah, who is
Aubrey Plaza.
yeah,
I fucking love Aubrey Plaza. She's one of my favorite actors at the moment.
yeah,
She has a really, really fun job. I like her character a lot. Like she's sort of typecast, um, as you know, sort of the weird, quirky one, a bit manic pixie dream girl in a way sometimes. But she's fun and she gives her roles her all. Like I really enjoyed her in this for sure.
yeah. She was actually the standout for me. Like I was
Ooh,
interested
there's one
to
more.
yeah, I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
was interested to see how she'd go in an action film. Like I can't
Yep.
sort of see, would this be her first action film? I can't think of another
Um,
like action film she was in. There is Emily the Criminal, but I've never
yeah, I was gonna say
seen
she's
it.
an Emily, but is that action? I have no idea.
I believe so. It's got criminal in there. It sounds like
Yeah, I'm not sure. I
crime.
mainly know her from comedies.
It's a crime drama thriller. So it's not
Okay.
action though, is it? But yeah, obviously she is from a comedy background, which doesn't
Yeah.
always translate very well across to action. But I
Hmm.
think she did quite a good job of
Yeah.
being the quirky sort of, I guess, secret operative. Like
Yeah.
she had enough of like, okay, I'm just going to do some one-liners to actually being useful, like behind the
Yep.
scenes, like behind the what is it, the camera and the or the computer communications operative, or whatever it is. And then when she's actually in the field as well, like she did quite a good job. It was good.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was good to see her being, what was it, like a little bit green, to getting her like feet wet in the field, as they said at one point.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Well,
I,
we'll say that she and I've already forgotten the other guys. Not Jason Statham, but the JJ Bugsy Malone.
yeah.
The other third special ops character, whatever. Um, just felt too fucking powerful. Like he was good at everything, and she too. Like but I guess that's sort of the point. Like they're meant to be like special agents and realistic superheroes in a way. So whatever, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I wasn't sure if this was meant to be a parody or not. Like,
Mm,
what were they hinting at it? Like, it seemed very self-aware at moments. Like, it seemed like they
yeah,
were
that's Guy
putting,
Ritchie.
like, poking fun at the actual like secret operative sort of James Bond-esque kind of Mission
Yeah,
Impossible realm.
definitely.
But
I think that's Guy Ritchie. He's always sort of done characters that are like a little bit of a
like
caricature,
tongue
I
in
guess.
cheek kind of thing. Like a little,
Yeah, like the character's a little bit larger than life, and that's sort of part of the comedy.
yeah.
So there's just so yeah, yeah, for sure. I think so, but like they never. There's no direct comparisons for sure. They never like call someone 008 or something like that dumb.
No.
You know.
But I guess the bad guy, he was fun. Like the main
The best.
person, the main person
It's
that
Hugh
was
Grant,
doing it.
man.
Yeah,
I've never seen Hugh Grant do something like this. He stole the fucking show. Every scene with Hugh Grant was fantastic. He's so fun.
yeah. I
Yeah.
enjoyed his interactions with Sarah. So
Hmm.
Aubrey's character, that was
Hmm.
so funny.
Yeah, and he came
Uh,
across real like sleazy and gross.
yeah,
And that's for such a suave gentleman that Hugh Grant is. That's a really good like he's an actor, obviously.
yeah. It's like, I'm still interested in you.
Hmm. Yeah, he has some really fun lines.
Yeah,
The scene and I'm not going to spoil anything by going into I'm not going to go into big detail to spoil it.
I don't
There's a
think
scene right at the end. Go on.
it doesn't matter if you spoil anything.
No,
You're not here for the storyline. The storyline is
no.
pretty much non-existent, really.
Yeah, in fact, I was a bit confused what was happening, even because at the beginning of the movie, they completely deviate. I'll get to my point in a second, but just mentioning storyline. At the beginning of the movie, they tell us that there is something that they need to get a hold of that is something bad, but they don't know what it is or what it does, but they know it's bad. And that's sort of how it begins, and you sort of learn over time, but not really.
You don't learn a lot. You
No.
just
Anyway, there's a scene at the end where it's sort of like Hugh Grant's power play moment, and he goes into a room and he gives this big monologue, and there's explosions in the background and whatever. But that whole scene is so fucking good. Like, yeah, I don't think this is a good movie, but I think Hugh Grant's portrayal in this almost makes this worth watching.
Yeah. Well, Danny's character, so Josh Hartnett is recruited by this team just because he's a movie star again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he plays the exact same character from the last film that he did. And it's
Yep.
I don't even know why he's there. Like they could have just removed that entire part and
It's true.
like I don't understand what he's doing. Like why
Yeah.
is it all of a sudden he's got a resurgent, but he's playing the same character in multiple films? Like what is
Yeah. He was
happening?
meant to be the grounded character. Like he's meant to be the character that we can connect with, who's the fish out of water. And that's fine. Like I didn't mind him. He was,
Yeah,
fun-ish, I suppose. But he didn't
I,
do a lot. You're right.
I don't understand why he was there. They could have dropped it. But this
Mhm.
film was so bizarre in terms of how it's presented to you. It's like, here's the mission briefing that you, as you said before, it's something dangerous. We don't know what, and it never really gets explained. We just know that it's
Mhm.
dangerous. There
Mhm.
is a mission. There's like a mission briefing, a mission. There's some action where Jason kicks some ass, and then or one of the side characters all of a sudden do something with a one line, then they'll have another
Mhm.
one line, then it'll be another mission briefing, and then it'll be another mission. And it just continued on in terms of one mission to the next. There was no like
Yep.
cohesive sort of little bit of a story like James Bond and like those sort of other spy films. They have obviously a mission, but they have like a getting ready sort of, they actually have an act structure, where this was
Mhm.
just kind of scenario after scenario of missions. It was kind of reminded
Yeah.
me like playing
Yeah, Act Two for sure.
it kind of reminded me of playing like a spy video game where it's like, here you do the mission, you come out, you
Yeah.
get the
And
briefing,
then
and
regroup.
you go again.
Yeah. 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 It definitely had that.
Yeah.
Um, I think Act Two, especially Act One, was sort of at least we're meeting the characters and we're getting all that sort of stuff. Then Act Two, yeah, was just they'd do something, there'd be some tension, there'd be some action, they would then regroup, then they do it again, and there's more tension and whatever. Like um, and the fact that like one of the main bad guy, Hugh Grant's character, um, in the end, like they end up working together, which I'm glad because I wanted more Hugh Grant. I didn't want him to be killed off or whatever. And then I'm glad we got more of him. And they're ever going to do a sequel, which probably not, but if they ever do, at least we know who's going to be in it. But yeah, the majority of this is just seems like fodder. Like it felt long, and the longer it went, the less interested I was. Like when I first started watching it, and I was getting into the Guy Ritchie feel and having a good giggle at the characters and listening to Jason Statham rattle off his lines. I was having a good time, and then the scene when they're on the boat with Hugh Grant and they're working. That's a really fun scene. And then from then on, it's just scene after scene, and I got less and less excited. And by the end, any scene without Hugh Grant, I didn't care about. And I wanted to just be over. And
Yeah.
the action's just generic, and no one felt like they were in danger. I don't care. And yeah,
There was a weird shot where Jason's like running with his rifle, and it was like it went shaky cam to first person where we actually saw
oh
him shoot
yeah,
down, and then it cut back to him. It was really weird. Like
yeah. They had like a GoPro mounted to the end of his gun or something, and they had these shots from like the gun's perspective looking up at him. Yeah,
it was
it was
odd.
weird.
It took the shift from like the really nice sort of, well, I guess cinematography of the scenes to just
Hmm.
this random sort of,
It
not
felt
even
weird.
not even Jason Bourne-esque. It reminded me of like the Doom movie where they were like, oh, we
Yeah, the
really
first
need to
person.
show first person, just because I hate it. I
Yeah,
hate first person. I hate hardcore Henry with the first person. Like it
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
gives me motion sickness. I hate it. But
Yeah, it was weird. And it was at that point it was the first time they did something like that, and it sort of ruined my immersion because I was not getting into it, but I was watching the scenes unfold and whatever, and then that happens. I'm instantly reminded that I'm watching a movie, and it's like, whoa, that was weird enough to make me stop and think.
yeah,
Um
it was an
Trying
odd
to look at my
choice.
notes here. Is there anything else wrote is important? Not really. I
Nah.
think they tried to, and this is probably I mentioned it earlier, but I'll get into more detail now. This I think is a big problem with what happens to a lot of these directors is they get to a point where they've done they've done the grounded films, they've done the movies with like characters on the street and whatever, and they're getting bigger budgets and they're getting bigger sign-ons and bigger actors and whatever, and they start doing epics and they try to do things like this where I think what makes Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch so fantastic is it's genuine characters and you feel like they're real people off the streets. They're sort of, they're always ragtag groups. They're sort of shit at what they're doing and they get lucky at times. And you sort of, as you're watching it, you're sort of cringing at their decision making, but it's things work out for them and it's kind of fun as they go. Whereas this just felt like every other action film where my main characters aren't really in danger. And it just, yeah, as much as it might have been a parody of some description, it just felt like everything else, which wasn't, if you're trying to do a parody, you've got to make it really obvious. And while there were some moments where it felt like that in areas, this still became another generic action film. And like I said, over time, I went from like, oh, this could be a 3.5, maybe a 3, maybe a 2.5. And to get to the end, I was so bored that it was like a 2, maybe a 1.5.
Yeah, it was
kind of
about half an
disappointing.
hour too long.
Definitely. Definitely.
I was ready for it to be over, and then it was like, oh, there's another scene. I reckon there's probably 3 scenarios where it was too long. I was like, you could have wrapped it up.
Yeah. And there was one moment where Jason Statham's character was escaping some like night infiltration thing, and we see him get cornered, and then next scene we see him outside, and we're like, oh cool, he killed them and moved on. And I was glad that they didn't bother showing us that he fought these men off. We didn't know, we needed to see. Of course, he fights them off and he gets through. But then later, in 2 or 3 cutscenes, flashbacks, they show us that fight again and again. I'm like, well, I'm glad you skipped over it before. Like, you show us this. Yeah.
He did seem invincible, like the 100%. Butler, like the Asian butler bloke. It was like, this guy is on some like hard to kill list or like whatever it was. And then him and the butler or the waiter, whatever it was, when they were like for one of the first early scenes. And then he was like fighting him, but the other bloke could not land a punch, like regardless. Like he was all of a sudden the best hand-to-hand combat person ever, like untouchable.
He's ridiculous. Yeah, like even when it was like 3-on-1, he would just fuck them all.
Yeah,
not even get hit.
So I don't know. It needed a little bit more grounding for
definitely
those characters, but like it was mostly enjoyable. But it's not like I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. I wouldn't be like, hey, go see this. It's like a 2. If it was probably half an hour shorter with, I don't know, less just scenario after scenario, it might be able to get into that sort of, hey, go check this out. It's a reasonable sort of spy-ish film, but it never gets there.
No, it's very, very, what's the word I want? Uninspired, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels like everything else when I wanted more from Guy Ritchie, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. What would you give it?
Yeah, like I said, like a 1.5, maybe a 2 if I'm generous. I think Hugh Grant and Aubrey Plaza and their scenes are enough to like, you could watch it and probably have a good enough time. But if you're not a fan of just generic action movies, then it's just a generic action movie and you're getting nothing out of it. So 2 if I'm generous.
Yeah, fair. So disappointing. But next week we've got some exciting things coming to
action packed. It is action packed.
Yeah.
3 action movies.
Oh, it's my delight. But anyway, I don't know. I was trying to think of a word. But we've got the D&D movie. We are very excited for that. Anyone who doesn't know what D&D stands for, it's Dungeons and Dragons Among Thieves is the actual title. It's out
Honor
now.
Among Thieves.
Whatever.
D&D hat.
Yep.
I'm just laughing because it's D&D hat. HAT. Honor Among Thieves.
Got you. But yeah, that is out now in cinemas. Go and see. John Wick Chapter 4 has broken the 8.5 trilogy, and IGN gave it a 10. We'll be the judge of that. Will IGN be able to be trusted with their ratings? We'll let you guys know next week. Well, don't tell them. Shh.
There's no way this is a 5.
You don't reckon?
No way. You kidding?
Ooh, all right. And then we've got Guns of Eden, which looks like something.
Looks shit.
It looks like
real low
something.
budget and bad,
Yep.
but sometimes low budget's fun. Like
It'll-
killing, sorry, not killing. I was gonna say killing Heidi, Mad Heidi. Like some low budget stuff is really fun. So we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. But yeah. Anyway, that's all we got time for this week. If you know anyone at Under Armour that wants to sponsor us in Australia, let them know. And all we ask for you, we want you to tell your friends. Let them know.
Tell your friends.
If you want to rate, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple, etc. Give that 5-star. If you don't give a 5-star, don't worry about it. Just share it to your friends. Make the day better. Make the day worse. And just remember, if you want to see me and Lawson, I'm live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time. That's on Twitch. Also, we got the YouTube channel, we've got TikTok, we've got the other podcasts, we've got You Nerd It Here First. So if you want all your nerdy news, check that out as well. We're everywhere. We've got lots of stuff coming. Check out TikTok, Ryman TV as well. We're on there. We're on everywhere. And you see Lawson raging at me as usual for jokes. I like jokes. You guys,
I like jokes.
You don't like jokes that much.
Yeah, like funny jokes. It's be funnier. We get along just fine.
I'm very, very funny. All right, we'll see you a bit later. Bye.
Sweet.